started working on the motor, and here we are so far. Now, I'm not really thrilled about having a big hole in the block, you know, but the block went together. We used, where is it? Model Masters enamel, Pontiac engine blue metallic. Okay, that's the color we sprayed. Gave it a couple coats. What I found is one coat's not enough. It looks too light and transparent, so I give it a couple coats. As you can see here, we also got the valve covers, the newly chromed valve covers on there. Okay. When we're done, we're going to give it a wash too. For Captain Nelson's car, we never really did know or get to see what was under the hood of that car. So of course you could have had the single carburetor setup, or it also came with a tri-motor setup. You know, neither way is wrong, obviously, because we never saw it, but I'm going to go with the tri-carbs because I just think they look cool. So we started painting on them. As you can see here, little copper color paint. I'm going to start working on the other pieces. What I did find out, which is no big surprise, is this here. This is the original part with your pulleys, and this little itty bitty thing out here is supposed to be an alternator. Okay, first off, that's pretty small for an alternator for this car. Secondly, when you put it in place, this sucker is way out in left field. I mean, it's way out where it should be. So I want to try to reel that in a little bit, make it look better. It really should be sitting almost right in front of, if not a little higher than that valve cover. So I went into the parts box, and I found this setup sitting here, and it has a really great looking alternator on it, if you can see that top piece there. So I'm going to set to work to try to cut this out and graft it onto this pulley and make ourselves a much better looking alternator setup. So I'll be back in a minute. Hey everyone, welcome back to another segment of our Captain Nelson 65 Pontiac GTO for the Chris Cortell Classic Plastic 101 tribute build. Ugh, that's kind of a mouthful. I don't mean ick to Chris, not by any means, but that's a mouthful of an opening statement now, isn't it? Alright, anyway, let's get back to the build and the motor. Here we got our 389, right? 389, I think it is. And we built it up, and I sprayed it with the Testors, or well, actually Model Masters, Pontiac Metallic Blue. And then it turns out that this year car didn't use that metallic blue. It used it may have been called just Pontiac Blue, but the metallic is a lot lighter and has a little bit of a metallic look to it. And this is more blue. So that's a special paint that I had. Bought that when I bought a bunch of other paints and stuff like that, and yet to use it on one of my builds. Go figure. So I'm stuck with this, and I haven't been able, you know, a different color for the motor is needed. I don't have it. Haven't been able to find it. I don't know that they actually make it, so I decided, well, we're going to make my own. So I have these cups here that I stole from work. They're measuring cups. They put medicine in it for the patients, because I work in a hospital. I grabbed a stack of them and I use them for mixing. They actually work really great for that. Very small footprint, and very disposable, so it's good. So anyway, I took my craft acrylic paints, which you can see right here. In this mixture, what I used is Cayman Blue, Buttercream, and Dolphin. Mixed them together. Basically it was 2 parts of this, 1 part of this, 1 part of this. Mixed it up in my medicine cup, And voila, I think I have a pretty damn close color for Pontiac Blue. So we put that on our motor over top of the metallic, and we're going to let that dry, and we'll come back to it later after it dries and touch it up if we need to with another coat, and then we'll do some weathering and move on from there. So hang on, we'll be right back. Okay, as you can see, we're making progress on our GTO motor. We've got the major components in place. The block was painted. We got the valve covers on. We've got the tri-carbs put on with the valve cleaners. Detailed them out a little bit with the black filters. You can see we got the front fan and the alternator in place. We've got it in a better location as opposed to sending way out here in left field. It looks a lot better, more in line with where it should be. So we're coming along. We even muddied it up a little bit of a black wash, nothing too crazy, because Tony's car was relatively new at the time of the show, so it wouldn't be that crazy. So just a little bit of a dirt wash on it. And now you'll see here we got the wires in place, and this isn't a kit. This is homemade wires, and this was a part of the original build that Chris did in his videos. So you want full details, I'd suggest going to him and see how he did it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. But basically, for those that are here now, these are made with bread ties, okay? Common, ordinary bread ties. We'd get these at your local grocery store. A lot of grocery stores still use them. They're the paper wrapped wires, okay? And basically, just a real quick how do you do. First off, I start with the distributor. If your distributor is big enough, thick enough to do this, what I'll do, and so let me see if I can get you in here. Explain as I go. If it'll focus. Focus. No, it won't focus. There we go. A little better. Basically, the kit distributor is a nice looking distributor. It has all the bumps and everything that makes it look like a distributor, as opposed to others that just look like a larger cylinder. So this is pretty decent. And what do is basically I take it off the sprue and then sand it down the top, flatten it out. Try to leave as much detail as I can, but you want it to be fairly flat, because what you're going to do is you're going to use a very small guide pin, like a drill pin vise, very small. Once it's flat, you're going to drill in dead center of the distributor, and then what you're going to do is you're going to gradually, by increasing the size of your bit, make the hole larger, okay? And the hole you want large enough to fit 8 of these wires, actually 9 of these wires. And what you do to prep these wires is all you do is take these wires, grab them by the handful from the store, take them, throw them into a bowl of water, let them sit overnight. The paper will get very soft, and basically you just strip it off with your fingers, and then you're going to have the bare wire, okay? Then basically you take them all together like this, you know, again, picture 8 stripped wires. Your holes are drilled. You want it big enough to accommodate the 8 wires, okay? So this is your distributor, and you just basically drop a little bit of glue in there and put these in there nice and snug and let them dry. Then once it's dry and tight, you can spread these out, okay? Kind of like I did here. You can paint them any color you want. Back in the 60s, pretty much most of the stuff was just black. There wasn't a lot of other colors. Paint them black, and we're ready to go. Now, prior to anything else that I did before I even assembled it, I went and I drilled the holes in the block where these wires are going to go. So once this glue on the distributor is very secure, I will start working my wires in place using something from using an online photo, I'm sure, as a reference. I will work these down to where they're supposed to go, trim them, and glue them into place. Once they're in place, we'll take the exhaust manifolds, which still have to be dirtied up a little bit too, and we'll glue them in place, and we'll move on to the next step. So that is where we are. Hang on, we'll be right back. Okay, so we got our engine completed and put in a chassis for our Captain Nelson I Dream of Jeannie GTO. We did the wiring. Let's see, get this around here. Again, we took the stock distributor using wire ties from your local produce store. We drilled out the distributor, put them in, stripped them, put them in, stripped them, painted them, glued them in place. And then once they were dry, we ran them around over the valve covers as best we could into the motor, and we have them good enough for this build. I'm not going to go crazy, just enough to give it a little bit of points of interest. And then we mounted it into the chassis of our GTO. Now the chassis itself, here is the chassis. Nothing special here. I don't know if it's the proper color. I know when Chris did his, he painted it body color. I don't know enough about Pontiacs of the period that they were the same color or not. So what I did is I painted mine flat black. Actually, no, it's not even flat black. It's charcoal. I used this Ceramcoat charcoal. Sprayed that on there because I like that better than a flat black, because a black is just too stark, I think. This always seems to give it the right tone, I think. Then we dusted it up with some little bit of pastels, a little dry brushing of silver to act as the wear marks off the frame and everything like that. You could see the exhaust system is built into it, so we just painted that aluminum, then added some weathering to the mufflers, so you can see here got a little wear. It looks like they're starting to age a little bit. Same thing with the rest of it. Okay, you can see a little bit of pooling of fluids underneath it here, just to give it a little texture and points of interest. Nothing spectacular. And that's the other side. So this part here is good for now, and we'll be moving on to the next part, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.